Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Blues Focus TV for episode 2 of Signing Series. And today I'm joined by a very special guest. It's Matt from Gills in the Blood TV. How are you, Matt?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. Yeah, we've just discussed off air briefly, haven't we? Just still coming to terms with Sunday night, but it's done
Yeah,
now. We can't change it. We all feel what we
exactly.
feel, and attention now turns back to our beloved club football.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Unfortunately, but it is what it is. You just got to take it on the chin, and both our clubs are used to that sort of heartbreak anyway. So it is what it is. But I'm just excited to get back to the stands and just get back going to games. Excited because I got my season ticket ready, as I'm sure you are as
I bought
well.
mine. I bought mine last night, and then tried to book tickets for the first home friendly this Friday, and we've had a COVID outbreak, so everything's been cancelled. So
Oh, for God's sake!
yeah, it's just like we're destined to never go back. So yeah, we've had a friendly cancelled tonight against Dartford, non-league side, and then yeah, it looks like Fridays is in. Well, it's in doubt at the moment, but unless we bring people in signings, I can't see it happening. So the wait goes on.
Yeah, the wait goes on. Well, I wish you all the best of luck with that anyway, and hopefully they can get the friendlies going as soon as possible. But anyway, so turn our attention to Jordan Graham. Obviously, we signed him a few weeks ago as a free agent now. Previously spent his time with you. I think was it one season or 2 seasons?
He had a little spell on loan at the back end of
That was it, yeah.
1920. He played about 5 games before everything got shut down, and then he spent all the last season with us, which is where he really came to the fore and was very impressive, and ultimately got a deserved move to the Championship.
Yeah, exactly. And from what I've seen of him, he looks like a very exciting player. And obviously, he looked exciting a few years back when he was at Wolves anyway, and he kind of broke through, but then just had a bit of rough luck with injuries. But I suppose my first question to you is, what would you say his style of play is?
From what I've seen of him, he's very direct. He's almost a bit like an old school winger. He's very much studs on the touchline, whether that's his natural game or whether that's what Steve Evans and Paul Rayner wanted him to do for us. And you said to me before we come on here about the recent interview I did with him, I think the reason he wanted to move on was because he wants to go to the highest level possible, obviously, but
Yeah,
he wants to develop his game. And he still feels that although he's 26, I think now he's obviously, in terms of games played and body, he still feels like only sort of 21, 22 because he missed so much football because of that horrendous knee injury when he was at Wolves. But from what we saw of him, if you isolate the fullback, 9 times out of 10, he's getting to the byline, he's getting delivery into the box. If you've got a big sort of target man type, which I think you have,
yeah, big Jukey.
that's it. Yeah, so he'll be ideal. We had Dane Oliver last season who got 20 goals in all competition. I imagine Jordan Graham was involved in probably 50% of them,
Flipping
and
heck.
most of that would be standing it up far post, Dane Oliver heading it in, and it's simple but effective. That's not to say he's a one-trick pony. He played left hand side, right hand side for us, predominantly from the right. A couple of times I think he played in the 10, and I think that's what he wants to develop in his game moving forward. And he was very sort of forthright with me when I spoke to him and said, "Can you still play in the Premier League?" And straight away, yes, I still believe I can get to the Premier League. So whether Birmingham's being used as a stepping stone or he goes up with you, he's adamant that he's got all the tools to go to the very highest level in England. And I hope he does, because he's a top lad, he's a top player, he works really hard and probably deserves a bit of luck after all the injuries he had early on in his career. But yeah, so winger, pretty quick, couple of step overs, isolate the fullback, gets to the byline, stands it up, whips it in. But he can deliver from deeper as well. That's not to say that's all he can do. A couple of goals we've scored this season from him dropping off. If our right back's got on the overlap and it comes back to him, he's whipped it in from deeper areas. We've got people running in. And he scores goals as well. He knows where the back of the net is. And last season was comfortably his best return as a pro. He got 13, I think, in all competitions. So he was double figures in terms of goals and assists in all competitions. And if you've got a player that's doing that, you're going to have half a chance.
Exactly. I think his goal contributions in the end in League One were like, I think it was 22 for goals and assists combined. So very impressive at that level. And, you know, that is the sort of player that we like to have at Blues because of obviously having our main man, Djukovic, back post header, that's his thing. So it kind of suits us down to the ground, really, the move. And like you said, his attitude seems fantastic. You want players in your team that want to get to the very top. And hopefully he can do that with Blues. But if not, then, that's football. But I definitely want players with that sort of attitude playing for my team. So no, that's great to hear, and he's definitely a player that suits our style of play. So I'm personally very excited to see how he'll get on at Blues.
Yeah, we played predominantly a 4-2-3-1 last season, and like I
Yeah,
say, 90% of the games were from that right hand side. So if you play a similar sort of 4-3-3 or a variation on it, he'll thrive if you keep him fit, give him games. He only missed, in terms of injuries last season, was very good. He only missed, I think it was only about 5 weeks, but obviously missed more games because everything was
yeah.
so condensed. I think he pulled hamstring in a cup game against Exeter at the end of November. I think his first game back was first game of the new year. So he probably missed 6 or 7 fixtures, but in a normal season, he'd have only missed 4 or 5. But after that, he was soon back up and running. And there was talk that he'd gone off the boil second half of the season. But looking at his goals and his assists, he was pretty consistent in both halves of the season. So it was never like he'd done everything up till sort of October, November, and then was quiet. He was still contributing right up to the very end. Scored his last goal, I think, at Burton in the 1-1 draw, which was the final away day of the season.
Well, there you are. I mean, obviously his injury record isn't great, but he seems to, when he's got that many games under his belt at League One level, it's always great to see you want consistency, and he seems to be improving in that sense. But no, his goals and assists, they're there for all to see. I'd say over a long season, that's quite impressive. I wouldn't say it wasn't I wouldn't say a drop off was there at all. I think it's good numbers. But I suppose kind of moving on to how he was when he first turned up at the club. What was he like on his debut or kind of his first few games? How did he
I'm
seem?
trying to think who his debut was. Unfortunately, because he arrived January 2020, obviously he's coming into a new team, so he wasn't starting a lot of games. I think he only started 2 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He played 7 times, so I think he only started twice. But there was early signs straight away. If you watch highlights of the away game at Southend at the end of that season, and um, again, it's exactly what I've said. He isolates the fullback. We get him into space, little drop of the shoulder. He gets to the byline, and Connor Ogilvie heads it in from the middle of the 6-yard box, and we win 1-0. That's what he does, and that's what he's very good at, and that's what you buy him predominantly. His debut was actually against Burton, and I think he come off the bench. And again, you could see that there was clearly ability, but at that time we were thinking, yeah, look at this kid's injury record, like you said.
Yeah,
But I don't think there's any problems with that now. In terms of the knee injury, he's well over it. He played 44 times for us last season in all competitions, and we've already said the games will come in thick and fast. And aside from that 1 month out, he was absolutely fine. There was no problems at all. So if he's managed to do it in a COVID condensed campaign, then I'm sure he'll be absolutely fine in what we keep our fingers crossed for is a normal campaign in 21-22. But it's yeah, we didn't see the best of him 19-20, that's for sure. We were trying to bridge the gap to the playoffs, and I think in a couple of games we were sort of playing almost old school computer game 4-2-4. We'd have 2 centre forwards, another centre forward as a winger, and Jordan Graham as a winger, and just see what happened.
yeah,
But he'll thrive in a 4-3-3, in a 4-2-3-1. One thing I will say, he won't like me for saying it, is that defensively, he's not keen, is what I'd say. He got better throughout the season. And it's not that he won't track back and he won't pick up men, but you're not buying Jordan Graham to cover your left back or to cover your right back. You're buying Jordan Graham to get Djukovic 15, 20 goals. And if you expect him to be running back towards his own goal for 45 minutes, then you're going to be disappointed. But if you let him just go and do his thing, he's very, very good. And he could be a very astute addition, especially for that man that we keep mentioning up the top.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not too fussed about that sort of stuff. It all really depends on the system you play. But personally, I think wingers are there to cause problems up front.
Exactly.
And it's a plus if they track back. And you never expect them to have the best defensive ability because it's not really their position unless they're more of a wing back. We do sometimes switch to a wing back system if we're playing a side that also has wing backs in it, because we do like to match teams, but predominantly we tend to play a sort of a 4-4-2, quite old school classic formation, and just get balls into the box. That's what we tend to like to go for. So it does sound like Graham will suit our style, particularly for like the man we've mentioned plenty of times, Djukovic. So no, it's exciting, and like you said, it seems like he's quite an impact player. You notice what he's got from the off. He's not the sort of player that maybe has to have so many games to grow. You'll get the basics from the beginning, but maybe the goals will come in time as well. So no, it's certainly an exciting signing. How, I suppose, kind of looking at the other end of the scale, how did it sort of end for him? Did he end on a high, or what was sort of the end of his season like?
He was absolutely fine for us. Let me just get these stats up from. Like I say, he scored his final goal for us came on the second to last day of the season, and he was still contributing. If we're looking at our fixtures from start of March, sorry, we played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 games, and he scored 1, 2, 3. He scored 5 in the last 15 games. So that's 1 in 3 for a winger. So if you're getting that all season long, you're looking at 15 goals.
Exactly. I certainly wouldn't call that a drop off at the end of the season. I'd be
No, it's
very
not.
happy with
No,
that
so
sort of
if
a
you're getting
return
that,
from my players.
He started off with his first 5 came in 9 games.
Well, there you are.
You know, he's got a couple of doubles in there, but he's consistently scores goals throughout the season. It wasn't like there was huge droughts where he's gone 10, 12, 15 games without notching. He's pretty consistent. The longest he probably went was that spell when he was on the sideline. So, and in terms of assists, I calculated it 25 goal contributions last season from 44 appearances in all competitions. So you're looking at better than 1 in 2 goal or assist.
That is fantastic statistically as well. You know, you're looking at like a goal or an assist every 2 games, something like that. So no, it's very, very impressive, and it's exciting as a Blues fan to be able to sign players like that. I wanted us to dip more into the League One sort of pool of players for a long time, but we've only just recently got a proper scouting network back in the club again, because before we were using overseas agencies. So we didn't really look into League One or League Two, but now obviously
there's plenty of good players in League, especially with the teams that are coming into that division now. The ones that have seen drop down is like Wickham. They got promoted last season. You're looking at Rotherham, who tend to just go up and down every other season.
Yeah, all the time.
Sheffield Wednesday, we know they're having their problems, but they're a huge club. We've got Portsmouth, we've got Sunderland, we've got Ipswich, we've got Wigan now that are suddenly, you know, chucking money at everyone, which I'm a little bit concerned about, and hope it doesn't go wrong for their fan base because of what's gone on and how close they sailed to the wind over the last few seasons.
Yeah, Bolton in there as well now.
Good squad. Bolton have come up. There's always one side from League One that goes on and goes all the way through. I'm not sure I can see any of them doing it this year, but I think Bolton will certainly be top half, top 12. But yeah, there's some huge clubs in there and some really good games for especially fans of a club like Gills to be going to all these stadiums. It's great fun. But Jordan Graham, I'm confident will make the step up. The only thing I'd be a bit concerned about is when you mention wing backs. I think half the reason he left Wolves was because Nuno Espirito Santo had just gone.
Obviously, they went to that wing back system, didn't they?
He doesn't play that system, and he tried to play it, and it just didn't work. And they had a chat, and that's why he moved on. But if you play him in a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2, he'll thrive. He'll absolutely thrive.
Exactly. I mean, a 4-4-2 is normally what we're renowned for, so he should fit in nicely in that sort of a system. No, it's exciting to see. I suppose moving on again is kind of, you mentioned it earlier a little bit, sort of the defensive side of things. What would you say his overall work rate as a player in general is?
His work rate's fine. If we're pressing high up the pitch, I'm not being funny, no disrespect to anyone, but if he plays for Steve Evans, he's got to work hard.
Yeah.
And Paul Rayner, and they won't let that drop. So he wouldn't have played that many games if he wasn't working hard. He'll track back. I'm not saying he won't track back, but positionally he's not great. And there was a few times last season where he's giving you a heart attack on the edge of his own box, where he's trying a little drag back or a Cruyff turn, and you just keep saying, you just shouting out, give it to the fullback, let him clip it down the line, and he's like running into his own penalty area, and you're tearing your hair out. But that's the confidence he plays with and the natural ability that he's got. And as long as he's not doing too much, then you won't have too many palpitations throughout the season. But no, if you get him doing it higher up the pitch, he's going to cause teams problems.
Yeah, no, I'm quite excited because obviously, you know, Steve Evans is renowned for being that hard-working team, not sort of pretty football, but just getting the job done sort of thing, very similar to how we played over recent years. So that also helps. You know, we, as Blues fans, we don't ask for sort of the technical ability, we just ask for hard work.
You'll get both. You'll get both from Jordan.
Exactly, and that's it. That, you know, that's a big plus point. So now his personality seems great as well off the pitch when you listen to him in interviews and stuff. And that kind of brings me on to my next question: what is he like, sort of personality wise, on the pitch and off the pitch? I suppose.
I think obviously I can only go off one YouTube chat and what you see on social media, but in terms of for us Gills fans last year, and I thought it was brilliant. He wasn't the only one. There was plenty that did it as well. And I've mentioned Verdane Oliver, who basically is our Jukovic, and they were great in terms of retweeting and shout outs for stuff and interacting with fans on Twitter. I think he comes from a very sort of strong family background. I think he might have been at his mum and dad's when he went back up in the summer to Coventry, because that's where he's from. And when I interviewed him, so I think his sister's on Twitter as well, and she's very sort of interactive with people as well, which is great. So I think he comes from a very good grounding. Obviously, in terms of a football background, he comes from Villa, Wolves. You're looking at giants of the English game, and not in the last 15, 20 years, but historically they're huge clubs. And so in terms of that upbringing, he's absolutely spot on. And yeah, from talking to him for just over an hour, his feet are firmly on the ground. There's no airs or graces with Jordan. I didn't get the idea of that anyway. There's none of this. There's no arrogance. He's confidence without being arrogant, and that's no bad thing if he plays with a little bit of arrogance and confidence when he's on the pitch. But I don't think he's the type of player that thinks, I'm better than you, I'm better than my teammates, and it's going to cause a problem. He'll muck in and do everything that he needs to do, and he plays with a smile on his face, which is the main thing. And I can understand that after the troubles he had earlier on in his career. I think he's just sort of grasping every moment that comes and thriving with that. And I think he can go to the Premier League. The only thing is he's 26 now, so you're thinking he's got to do it quite quickly. But if he still only feels sort of 22, 23 in terms of fitness and body, and we know nutrition and fitness in the game now gives you longer to play at the top level. You only have to look at like the Ronaldos and the Messis who are still doing it. I can't fault him. I don't want to get you too excited, because I did an interview like this with about a Bristol Rovers podcast last summer when they signed two of our players and they got relegated bottom of the league. So I don't want to get your hopes up too much, but I can't see anything other than Jordan Graham being a success. He's up near home again now as well, and that'll help.
He'll understand the locals as well, being from around the area, so he'll know the sort of personality he's working with, and he seems like a very motivated character, and that's what you want in any football side. So no, that's great to hear. And kind of to wrap things up, what would you rate the signing out of 10 personally for Blues?
From a Blues point of view, I mean, it's difficult. You can't rate it until he starts, performing. I could say he could be an 8 and he might get injured, or I could say I think he's a 6 or a 7 and he goes and scores 15 and assists. And if you put me on the spot, I think it's a solid 8 out of 10 signing in terms of ability, work rate, his manner off the pitch. I think you've got a very good player, and I'm disappointed he left, but it was understandable. We knew it was coming, and it's like when you break up with someone, and when you know it's coming, and it's horrible. But you can see it a mile off, and he deserves it. And no disrespect to us, Birmingham are a much bigger club, much bigger fan base, much better facilities, infrastructure, and let's hope he does well. And whether he gets to the Premier League with you, or if he ends up moving on after one season. If he moves on after one season, it'll be generally because he's had a belter. So I
was going to say, it got to be like 20 goals.
And if he gets you into the Premier League, then you've had an even more of a belter. So I think you'd be absolutely fine, and I'll certainly be keeping track on him. He follows me on Twitter. I follow him. He's a top lad, and he's not one of them players that follows while he's at the club and then just starts unfollowing fans. He's really good. I better check now that he's not unfollowing me. But no, he doesn't seem the type to do that. And I think if we had this chat middle of the season, I'd be very surprised if he's not contributed, 5 or 6 goals and the same in assists by Christmas.
100%. I definitely have to get you on at a later date to discuss how it all went and stuff. But
or to shout at me when it's all gone horrifically wrong.
I'll be shouting down the camera lens at you for his 1 goal and 2 assists or whatever.
He's been sent off 3 times. He's ripped his hamstring.
Yeah, and we've joined you in League One.
It's bad if you're in League One at Christmas. You've had an absolute shocker then if you've gone down after 6 months. But
yeah, God.
No, I can't see it happening. I cannot see it happening. He's a good lad, and more importantly, he's an absolutely cracking footballer.
Well, that's brilliant. Thank you, Matt, for joining us on the channel. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Not a problem at all.
Yeah, it's been great. I love these sort of chats. It's great to also get to know your players before you see them as well, get you even more excited to get back to the football. But yeah, no, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. If everyone can also go check out Gills in the Blood TV, I'll leave all the links down below, especially if you're a Gillingham fan, except I'm sure you'll already know who he is if you are anyway. So yeah, definitely go check out the content. 100% go check out that Jordan Graham interview. Very interesting, very detailed, and 100% worth a watch for any Blue Nose. So, but yeah, thank you again. And thank you to all the viewers that have tuned in as well. And we'll see you in the next one. Keep right on.